Ambassador Kang stood in the center of the massive chamber aboard the Valthari flagship. The walls stretched high above him, covered in strange metal that seemed to shift colors in the dim light. 9 alien beings sat on floating platforms around him, each one different from the others. Some had too many arms, others had skin that looked like stone, and a few had eyes that glowed in the darkness. Kang kept his face calm, even though his heart was beating fast. He had been Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council for 3 years, but he had never been invited to meet the Council of 9 before. These were the most powerful beings in known space, leaders of civilizations that had existed for thousands of years before humans even learned to make fire. High Commander Thex floated directly in front of Kang. The Valthari leader was tall and thin, with purple skin and 4 arms that moved like water. When Thex spoke, his voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. "Human Kang," Thex said, "your species has shown great courage in the recent war against the Shadow Fleet. You fought beside us when many others ran away. You saved worlds that were not even your own." Kang nodded slowly. "We did what we thought was right, Commander." "Yes," another council member said. This one looked like a giant insect with golden wings. "Your people are young, but they have proven themselves worthy of trust?" Thex raised one of his arms, and a section of the floor began to glow. Something rose up from beneath, a device that made Kang's breath catch in his throat. It was about the size of a briefcase, made of black metal that seemed to absorb light. Strange symbols covered its surface, pulsing with soft blue energy. "This," Thex said, "is the quantum disruptor." The chamber became completely silent. Even the soft humming of the ship's engines seemed to stop. Kang could feel the weight of history in that moment. Few beings in the galaxy have ever seen one. "Of these," continued a council member who looked like a living tree made of crystal, "fewer still have been trusted to possess one." Thex floated closer to Kang. "This weapon can destroy a star system, human. Not just planets or moons, but entire suns and everything that orbits them. It reaches into the very fabric of space and tears it apart." Kang swallowed hard. "That is considerable power, Commander." "The Krezon used one to end the Titan Wars," said another council member, this one covered in what looked like living metal. 16 star systems became dust in a single day. The war ended immediately. The Etherani built 3 of them during their golden age, added the insect-like being. They kept them as deterrents, never using them. Their enemies knew the weapons existed and never dared attack. "The Nexari created 5, said Thex. "They used them to carve out their trade empire, turning any system that refused their terms into scattered atoms." Kang looked at each council member in turn. "And you wish to give one to humanity?" "Your species has earned this honor," Thex replied. "In 300 years of galactic history, only 7 races have been deemed worthy of possessing a quantum disruptor. Today, humanity becomes the 8th. The device continued to pulse with its soft blue light. Kang could feel energy radiating from it, a power that seemed to make the air itself vibrate. He wondered if this was what standing next to a star would feel like. "There are conditions," said the crystal tree being. "You must understand what you are accepting." "Please explain," Kang said. Thex began to list them, counting on his 4 hands. "First, only 3 beings on Earth may know of its existence initially. Your leaders must decide who else should be told. Second, it cannot be studied by your scientists without permission from this council. Third, if it is ever used, you must report the action to us within 1 solar day. And fourth," added the golden-winged insect, "you must understand that this gift changes everything. Other species will see humanity differently now. Some will fear you. Others will try to become your allies. A few may try to destroy you before you become too powerful." Kong nodded slowly. I understand. Do you? Asked Thex. Young species often think they do, but the reality is different. The Corvani thought they understood when we gave them a disruptor 500 years ago. They used it within a month, turning their own home system into a graveyard to stop an invasion. They saved their people, but they destroyed their world. The survivors still wander space, looking for a new home. The Zalathi kept theirs for 200 years without using it, said the Living Metal Council member. But just knowing they had it changed them. They became paranoid, suspicious of everyone. Their civilization collapsed from within, destroyed by fear of their own weapon. Kang walked slowly around the device, studying it from every angle. The symbols on its surface seemed to shift and change as he moved. Up close, he could see that it was incredibly complex, with panels and controls covering every surface. How does it work? He asked. Quantum field manipulation, replied the crystal tree being. It creates a cascade failure in the fundamental forces that hold matter together. The effect spreads at the speed of light until it encounters a gravity well large enough to contain it. The targeting system is precise, added Thex. It can be set to destroy a single asteroid or an entire star cluster. The choice is yours. Kang reached out slowly and touched the device. The metal was warm, and he could feel a slight vibration under his fingers. For a weapon of such terrible power, it seemed almost friendly. What if we choose not to use it at all? Kang asked. The council members exchanged glances. Several made sounds that might have been laughter. Every species asks that question, said Thex. Most mean it when they ask. But power calls to power, human. When your people face extinction. When your enemies gather at your borders. When you must choose between victory and death, you will remember what you carry. Kang lifted the device carefully. It was heavier than he expected, but not impossibly. So, the blue light pulsed a little brighter as he held it. I accept this gift on behalf of humanity, he said formally. We will use it wisely. See that you do, said Thex. The galaxy is watching. As Kang walked toward the chamber's exit, carrying the most powerful weapon ever created, he found himself thinking about something unexpected. The device was warm in his hands, and the energy field around it reminded him of something familiar. Something from home. Something simple and peaceful. He smiled slightly as the chamber doors closed behind him. The Council of Nine had given humanity the power to destroy stars. They had no idea what humans were really going to do with it. The diplomatic ship Harmony moved through space at faster than light speed, carrying Ambassador Kang and his small team back to Earth. The journey would take 3 weeks, plenty of time for Kang to study the strange device the Council of Nine had given to humanity. Kang sat in his private quarters, the quantum disruptor resting on his desk. The black metal surface still pulsed with soft blue light, and he could feel the warmth it gave off even from across the room. He had read the basic instruction manual the Valthari had provided, but it was written in technical language that hurt his head. A soft knock came at his door. "Come in," Kang called. Engineer Lee stepped inside, followed by Scientist Park. Both had been with Kang for 2 years, and he trusted them completely. They were also the only other humans on the ship who knew what the device really was. "Any luck figuring out how it works?" Lee asked. She was a practical woman in her 30s who could fix anything from a broken coffee maker to a starship engine. "Some," Kang replied, "but I think I need help from people who understand technology better than I do." Park pulled up a chair and sat down. He was younger than the others, fresh out of university with degrees in physics and engineering. His eyes were bright with curiosity as he looked at the weapon. "May I scan it?" Park asked, holding up a small device. "Just surface readings, nothing that would count as studying it without permission." Kang nodded. "Go ahead, but be careful." Park waved his scanner over the quantum disruptor. Numbers and graphs appeared on the small screen, and his eyebrows went up in surprise. "This is incredible," Park said. The energy readings are off the charts, but they're also perfectly controlled. Look at this thermal signature. He showed the scanner to Li and Kang. The device was generating enormous amounts of energy, but somehow keeping the temperature at exactly 85 degrees Celsius. That's hot enough to boil water, Li observed, but not hot enough to burn skin. The temperature control is amazing, Park continued, running more scans. It stays at exactly the same heat no matter what. Even when I move the scanner around different parts, it's always 85 degrees. Kang frowned. Why would a weapon need such precise temperature control? Maybe it's to prevent overheating, Li suggested. If something this powerful got too hot, it could explode. Park shook his head. No, look at these energy patterns. The heat isn't a side effect, it's intentional. The weapon is designed to maintain this exact temperature. Show me the targeting system, Kang said. Park adjusted his scanner and pointed. It at a different part of the device. New readings appeared on the screen. Incredible precision, Park whispered. This thing can target anything from a single atom to an entire star system. The focusing array is more advanced than anything we have on Earth. Li leaned closer to look at the numbers. Wait a minute. These focusing patterns look familiar. Familiar how? Kang asked. Give me a second. Li pulled out her own handheld device and started typing rapidly. After a few minutes, she looked up with a strange expression. I've seen energy patterns like this before. We use them in industrial applications on Earth. What kind of industrial applications? Park asked. Precision. Heating, Li replied. Food processing, material treatment, that sort of thing, but much simpler versions. Kang stared at the device with new interest. You're saying this weapon uses the same principles as our heating technology? Not the same, but similar, Li corrected. Like comparing a candle to a fusion reactor. Same basic idea, completely different scale. Park was scanning another section of the device now. Look at these field generators. They can create incredibly stable energy fields at microscopic levels. You could use this to... He stopped talking and stared at his scanner. Use it to what? Kang prompted. To create perfect molecular structures, Park finished slowly. This targeting system doesn't just destroy things. It can manipulate matter at the quantum level with perfect precision. Li sat back in her chair. So this weapon can either tear atoms apart or put them together in exactly the pattern you want. That's right, Park said. And the temperature. Control means it can do it without creating unwanted heat damage. Kang picked up the instruction manual again and flipped through it. Most of the text was still too technical for him, but now some of the diagrams made more sense. According to this, the weapon has different power settings, he said. From complete system destruction down to, what does this symbol mean? Park looked at the page. Minimal energy output. Barely detectable power signature. So it doesn't have to destroy star systems, Li said. It can be turned way down. Way down, Park agreed. According to these readings, you could probably set it low enough to heat a cup of tea without damaging the cup. The three humans sat in silence for several minutes, each lost in their own thoughts. Outside the small window, stars streaked past. As the harmony continued toward Earth, can I ask you both something? Kang said finally. Of course, Li replied. When you look at this device, what do you see? Li thought for a moment. I see the most sophisticated heating and manipulation system ever created. It just happens to also be capable of destroying planets. I see perfect precision, Park added. The ability to control energy and matter with impossible accuracy. Kang nodded slowly. That's what I thought you'd say. Because that's what I see too. What do you think the Valthari see when they look at it? Li asked. A weapon, Kang replied. The ultimate expression of destructive power. But it's so much more than that, Park said. This technology could revolutionize everything we do on Earth. Manufacturing, construction, medicine, even cooking. The aliens gave us what they think is the ultimate weapon, Lee said slowly. But maybe they didn't realize what they were really giving us. Kang smiled. Maybe they didn't. For the rest of the journey home, the three humans spent hours studying the quantum disruptor. They learned about its energy systems, its targeting mechanisms, and its incredible precision controls. The more they learned, the more excited they became. By the time Earth appeared in the ship's windows, Kang had filled several notebooks with ideas. Not ideas about warfare or destruction, but ideas about creation and improvement. The Council of Nine had given humanity the power to destroy star systems, but humans, being humans, were already thinking of better ways to use it. As the Harmony entered Earth's atmosphere, Kang carefully packed the quantum disruptor back in its carrying case. Tomorrow he would have to report to Earth's leaders about the gift they had received. But first he was going to visit an old friend in Seoul, someone who would appreciate the device's more interesting capabilities, someone who had always complained that existing technology just wasn't precise enough for his work. Kang smiled as he thought about Jin's reaction to perfect temperature control. Kang walked through the busy streets of Seoul, carrying a small bag that contained the most powerful weapon in the galaxy. People hurried past him on their way to work, completely unaware that he held something that could destroy their entire solar system. The thought made him smile. He stopped in front of a small cafe tucked between two tall office buildings. The sign above the door read, "Jin's Coffee Corner," in both Korean and English. Through the window, Kang could see his old friend Jin wiping down tables and preparing for the morning rush. Kang had known Jin since university. While Kang had gone into diplomacy, Jin had followed his passion for coffee and opened this little cafe 5 years ago. It was not the biggest or fanciest coffee shop in Seoul, but Jin took pride in making every drink perfect. The bell above the door chimed as Kang entered. Jin looked up and broke into a wide smile. "Kang, you're back from space," Jin said, rushing over to hug his friend. "How was the trip? Did you meet more aliens?" "Something like that," Kang replied. "Do you have time to talk? Privately?" Jin's expression became more serious. He had learned over the years that when Kang asked to talk privately, it usually meant something important was happening. "Of course. Let me lock the door and put up the closed sign for a few minutes." Jin quickly secured the cafe and led Kang to a small table in the back corner. "What's going on?" Kang set his bag on the table and looked around to make sure they were alone. "I need to show you something, but first I need you to promise me you won't panic." "Now I'm worried," Jin said. "What kind of thing makes people panic?" "The kind that can destroy planets," Kang replied quietly. Jin stared at him for a moment, then laughed. "You always were dramatic. Come on, what is it really?" Instead of answering, Kang carefully opened his bag and lifted out the quantum disruptor. The black metal surface began glowing with its soft blue light as soon as it touched the air. Jin's laughter stopped immediately. "What is that?" "A weapon," Kang said. "The most powerful weapon ever created. The aliens gave it to humanity as a gift." Jin reached out slowly, then pulled his hand back. "It's warm. I can feel it from here." 85 degrees Celsius exactly, Kang said. "It never changes temperature." "Why are you showing me this?" Jin asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Because I think you're the only person who will understand what I'm thinking," Kang replied. "This thing doesn't just destroy. It has perfect temperature control, precise targeting, and incredible energy manipulation capabilities." Jin looked confused. "I still don't understand." Kang leaned forward. "Remember how you always complain that you can't get the milk to exactly the right temperature for your special drinks? How the steam wand on your espresso machine is too unpredictable?" "Yes, but what does that have to do with—" Jin stopped talking. His eyes went wide as he stared at the glowing device. "You're not serious," Jin said. "I'm completely serious," Kang replied. This thing has better temperature control than anything on Earth. It can focus energy with impossible precision. It can manipulate matter at the molecular level. Jin stood up and began pacing around the small cafe. You want to turn a planet-destroying weapon into coffee equipment? Why not? Kang asked. The aliens see it as a tool for destruction, but we could see it as a tool for creation, for making things better instead of making things gone. This is insane, Jin muttered, but Kang could see the wheels turning in his friend's mind. Even if it could work, how would we modify something like this? Very carefully, Kang said, with lots of safety measures, and only after we understand exactly how it works. Jin sat back down and stared at the device. Show me what it can do. Kang picked up the quantum disruptor and carefully touched one of the control panels. The blue glow became slightly brighter, and new symbols appeared on the surface. This is the power setting, Kang explained. Right now it's set to minimal output. Watch. He pointed the device at Jin's coffee cup, which still had cold coffee in it from the morning. A thin beam of blue light touched the surface of the liquid. Within seconds, steam began rising from the cup. Jin carefully picked up the cup and took a sip. His eyes went wide again. Perfect temperature, he whispered. Not too hot, not too cold. Exactly right. And look at this, Kang said, adjusting another control. He pointed the device at a pitcher of milk sitting on the counter. The milk began to foam without any visible heating element or steam wand. Molecular agitation, Kang explained. It's creating perfect microfoam by manipulating the milk proteins directly. Jin walked over to the pitcher and examined the foam. It was smooth, glossy, and perfectly textured, better than anything he had ever created with his regular equipment. This is impossible, Jin said, but he was smiling now. How much modification would it need? Less than you might think, Kang replied. The hard part is already done. We just need to build better controls and safety systems around it. Jin began pulling out papers and pens, sketching ideas quickly. We could build a housing for it. Make it look like regular equipment. Add normal-looking controls so customers wouldn't suspect anything. The targeting system could be programmed to recognize different types of drinks, Kang added. It could adjust temperature and texture automatically. And the energy output is adjustable? Jin asked. From destroy a star system down to barely warm a teaspoon, Kang confirmed. Jin looked up from his sketches. How long do we have before you need to report this to your government? I already reported that we received a weapon, Kang said. But I haven't told them what we're planning to do with it. And what are we planning to do with it? Jin asked. Kang smiled. We're going to make the perfect cup of coffee. For the next several hours, the two friends worked together in Jin's small back room. They measured the device, sketched housing designs, and planned safety systems. Jin's eyes grew brighter with each idea, and Kang felt proud of his decision to bring the device here. There's one problem, Jin said as evening approached. What if someone finds out what we're really using? Then we tell them the truth, Kang replied. That humans found a better way to use the ultimate weapon. Instead of destroying things, we're making them better. And if the aliens don't approve? Kang thought about High Commander Thex and the Council of Nine. Then, they'll learn something new about humanity. As they packed up their plans for the night, Jin looked at the quantum disruptor one more time. You know, he said slowly, this might actually work. I know it will work, Kang replied. The question is whether the galaxy is ready for human ingenuity. Jin grinned. Only one way to find out. The most powerful weapon ever created was about to become a coffee machine, and somehow that seemed perfectly reasonable to both humans. 3 months had passed since Kang and Jin began their unusual project. The small cafe looked the same from the outside, but everything had changed inside. Where Jin's old espresso machine used to sit, there was now a sleek metal housing that hummed quietly with barely contained power. The housing looked like expensive coffee equipment to most customers. Only Jin and Kong knew that inside was the most advanced weapon in galactic history, carefully modified and controlled to make perfect beverages instead of destroying star systems. Jin stood behind the counter, smiling as he watched a customer take her first sip of what he called a quantum latte. The woman's eyes went wide with surprise. "This is incredible," she said. "How is it staying at exactly the perfect temperature? I've been drinking it for 10 minutes and it hasn't gotten cold at all." "Trade secret," Jin replied with a wink. The secret was that the quantum disruptor's energy field was maintaining the liquid at precisely 65 degrees Celsius, the optimal drinking temperature for coffee with milk. The targeting system monitored the molecular structure of the drink and adjusted energy output automatically to maintain perfect heat. More customers were arriving for their morning coffee. Word had spread through Seoul about Jin's amazing drinks, and people now traveled from across the city to experience what they assumed was some new kind of brewing technology. "One stellar smoothie," called out a businessman in an expensive suit. This had become Jin's most popular drink. A fruit smoothie with molecular-level consistency that stayed perfectly mixed no matter how long you waited to drink it. Jin smiled and began preparing the order. He placed fresh fruit into what looked like a normal blender, but was actually a precision containment chamber. The quantum disruptor's energy field broke down the fruit at the molecular level and reassembled it into a perfectly smooth liquid, with each molecule in exactly the right place. The process took 30 seconds and produced a drink that was impossible to make with regular equipment. Every sip had exactly the same flavor and texture as the first, because every molecule was in perfect balance. Across the cafe, Kong sat at his usual corner table, reading messages on his tablet. As Earth's diplomatic representative, he still had regular duties, but he made sure to spend his free time here watching their experiment succeed. His tablet chimed with an urgent message. It was from Ambassador Yoon at the Galactic Council headquarters. "Kang," the message read, "I'm getting strange reports from alien intelligence networks. Multiple sources are asking about human use of the quantum disruptor. Some kind of rumors about food preparation? Please confirm status immediately." Kang smiled and typed back a simple reply. "Status confirmed. Operating as intended." That was technically true. The weapon was operating perfectly, just not the way the aliens had expected. "What's funny?" Jin asked, bringing Kang his regular morning drink. "The galaxy is starting to notice our little cafe," Kang replied, showing Jin the message. Jin looked worried. "Is that bad?" "Probably not," Kang said. "But it might mean we get some interesting visitors soon." As if summoned by his words, the cafe door chimed and 3 people entered. They wore the dark suits that marked them as government officials, and they looked around the cafe with professional interest. One of them approached the counter. "Excuse me, are you Jin?" "Yes," Jin replied cautiously. "We're from the Ministry of Science. We've heard reports about unusual technology being used here. Would it be possible to speak with you privately?" Jin glanced at Kang, who nodded. "Of course. Let me just finish these orders." 20 minutes later, Jin and Kang sat with the 3 officials in the cafe's back room. The lead investigator, a woman named Dr. Kim, pulled out a small device similar to the scanners Park had used on the spaceship. "We've been detecting unusual energy signatures from this location," Dr. Kim explained. "Our instruments show quantum field fluctuations consistent with advanced alien technology." "That's correct," Kang said simply. Dr. Kim looked surprised. "You're admitting it?" "Why wouldn't I?" Kang replied. "We're not doing anything illegal or dangerous." "You're using alien technology to make coffee," said one of the other officials, a man who looked like he couldn't believe what he was saying. "Among other beverages," Jin added helpfully. Dr. Kim ran her scanner around the room. The readings made her frown. "These energy levels are enormous. What exactly are you using?" Kang and Jin exchanged glances. They had known this moment would come eventually. The quantum disruptor, Kang said quietly. All three officials went completely silent. Dr. Kim's scanner nearly fell from her hands. "The weapon the aliens gave us?" she whispered. "The same one," Kang confirmed, "but we've found a better use for it." "You turned humanity's ultimate deterrent into a coffee machine?" the third official asked. "We turned it into the most advanced food preparation system ever created," Jin corrected. "It can maintain perfect temperatures, create ideal molecular structures, and produce results that are impossible with conventional technology." Dr. Kim was still staring at her scanner readings. "This is insane, and brilliant, and completely unprecedented. Would you like to try a demonstration?" Jin asked. Before the officials could answer, Jin walked over to the modified housing and began preparing drinks. He made 3 different beverages, each one showcasing a different capability of the quantum technology. A temperature-controlled tea that would stay perfect for hours, a fruit juice with enhanced nutritional content, and a chocolate drink with molecular structure so perfect it tasted like pure cocoa essence. The officials tried each drink in silence. Their expressions changed from suspicion to amazement to something approaching awe. "This is the best tea I've ever had in my life," Dr. Kim said finally. "And it will stay exactly this temperature until you finish it," Jin explained. "How many people know about this?" asked one of the other officials. "Just us and my engineering team," Kang replied, "though word is apparently spreading through alien intelligence networks." Dr. Kim put down her cup and looked directly at Kang. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Made really good coffee," Jin suggested. "You've revolutionized food science," Dr. Kim said. "This technology could change agriculture, nutrition, food storage, everything related to how humans eat and drink." "We just wanted to make better coffee," Kang said with a smile. "And you've succeeded," Dr. Kim replied. "But you've also created the most significant technological advancement in human history, using the galaxy's most powerful weapon." She stood up and walked around the small room, thinking. "We'll need to study this, document it, understand the implications." "Just don't shut us down," Jin requested. "My customers would be very upset." Dr. Kim laughed, a sound that held equal parts amazement and disbelief. "Shut you down? We're going to recommend you for the Nobel Prize." As the officials left, promising to return with a full research team, Jin and Kang sat quietly in their back room. The quantum disruptor hummed softly in its housing, continuing to maintain perfect conditions for the drinks being served in the cafe. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Jin asked. Kang looked around the small room where they had changed galactic history. "I think we did the human thing." "Which is?" "We took something designed for destruction and found a way to make people happy instead." Through the window, they could see customers enjoying their impossible drinks, completely unaware that they were experiencing technology from the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. The most powerful weapon ever created was making perfect coffee, and somehow that seemed like the most human thing possible. Ambassador Yoon stared at her communication screen in disbelief. 3 different alien intelligence services had sent her the same question in the past hour. "Is it true that humans are using the quantum disruptor to make beverages?" She rubbed her temples and tried to think of a diplomatic way to confirm something that sounded completely insane. Her office at Galactic Council headquarters was usually quiet in the morning, but today her communication system had not stopped, chiming with incoming messages. The first message had come from the Krizon Empire. The Krizon were a warrior race that respected only strength and conquest. Their message was short and angry. "Humans insult the sacred weapon. This cannot be allowed." The second message came from the scholarly Ethrani. They were scientists and philosophers who valued knowledge above all else. "Request detailed technical specifications of human modifications to quantum disruption technology. This advancement must be studied." The third message was from the Nexari Trade Federation. They saw opportunity in everything. Interested in licensing human beverage preparation technology. Will pay premium prices for exclusive rights. But the message that worried Yoon the most came from High Commander Thex of the Valthari. It contained only 4 words. Prepare for immediate inspection. Yoon quickly sent an encrypted message to Earth Alert Kang, alien representatives coming to investigate coffee shop, situation potentially serious. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, the reactions were even stronger. In the great war chambers of the Krazon homeworld, General Vex slammed his armored fist against a metal table. The impact left a dent in the thick steel. They mock us, Vex growled to his assembled officers. We gave them the ultimate weapon, and they use it to heat drinks like children playing with toys. Perhaps we should reconsider our alliance with the humans, suggested one of his lieutenants. Perhaps we should reconsider giving weapons to races. Too weak to use them properly, Vex replied. No species in galactic history has ever dishonored a quantum disruptor this way. But in the corner of the chamber, an old Krazon warrior named Korth spoke quietly. General, have you considered that maybe we are the ones who misunderstood the weapon? Vex turned to stare at him. Explain yourself. We use the disruptor to destroy our enemies, Korth said. But destruction only creates fear and emptiness. The humans use it to create something that brings people together. Which action requires more courage? The chamber fell silent. Vex had no answer for that question. On the Ethrani research world of Nexus Prime, the reaction was completely different. Dr. Zenth, the leading expert on quantum mechanics, was practically vibrating with excitement as she reviewed the intelligence reports. Do you understand what this means? She asked her research team. The humans have successfully repurposed quantum disruption technology for precision molecular manipulation. The applications are endless. But is it ethical to use a weapon this way? Asked one of her students. Is it ethical to use such advanced technology only for destruction? Dr. Zenth replied. The humans have proven that the same energy that can destroy a star can also perfect a simple drink. They have turned war technology into life technology. She pulled up holographic displays showing the energy signatures detected from Earth. I want a full research proposal on my desk by tomorrow. We need to understand how they did this. In the commercial centers of the Nexari trade worlds, the reaction was purely practical. Trade Director Quinn was already calculating profit margins. Forget the ethics, Quinn told his staff. This is the business opportunity of the century. If humans can use quantum technology to improve food and drinks, imagine what we could do with our manufacturing processes. But, sir, one of his assistants said, the humans are using a quantum disruptor. Those are restricted military technology. Not anymore, Quinn replied with a smile. The humans have just redefined what that technology is for, and we're going to be the first to capitalize on it. But the strongest reaction came from an unexpected source. On a small, peaceful world at the edge of known space, an old being named Elder Tam read the reports with growing amusement. Elder Tam belonged to a race called the Caretakers, one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. They had been watching younger races develop for thousands of years, offering guidance when asked, but never interfering directly. Fascinating, Elder Tam said to her companion, Elder Rix. The young humans have solved a problem that has puzzled us for millennia. What problem is that? Elder Rix asked. How to turn tools of war into tools of peace, Elder Tam replied. Every advanced civilization eventually develops weapons that could destroy their enemies completely. Most use these weapons and destroy themselves in the process. A few keep them as deterrents and live in constant fear. But the humans found a third option. You think they did this on purpose? Elder Rix asked. I think they did this because they are human, Elder Tam replied. They see a tool that can manipulate matter at the quantum level, and they think about making better food. They are given the power to destroy stars and they choose to perfect coffee instead. Elder Rix considered this. Should we contact them? Not yet, Elder Tam said, but we should watch them very carefully. A species that can turn weapons into kitchen equipment might be ready for greater responsibilities. Back on Earth, Kang received Yoon's warning message just as he arrived at Jin's cafe for his morning drink. The place was busier than ever, with customers lined up out the door waiting to try the famous quantum beverages. We have a problem, Kang told Jin quietly. What kind of problem? Jin asked as he prepared a stellar smoothie for a waiting customer. The kind that involves angry aliens coming to inspect our coffee shop, Kang replied. Jin paused in his work. How angry? Potentially very angry, Kang said. The Krezon think we're insulting their sacred weapon. The Valthari are sending High Commander Thex himself. And the good news? Jin asked hopefully. The Etherani want to study our technology, and the Nexari want to buy it. Jin continued making drinks while he thought. So some aliens are angry, some are curious, and some want to make money from our idea. That's about right, Kang confirmed. Sounds like a normal day dealing with different types of people, Jin said with a shrug. Except these people can destroy planets. Are you worried? Kang asked. Jin looked around his cafe. Customers were laughing and enjoying perfect drinks. Business people were making deals over quantum lattes. Students were studying while sipping temperature-controlled tea. Old friends were catching up over stellar smoothies that never lost their consistency. You know what? Jin said finally. Let them come. They can see for themselves what we've really done here. Which is what, exactly? Jin smiled and gestured to his cafe full of happy customers. We took their weapon of mass destruction and turned it into a weapon of mass satisfaction. I don't think that's going to calm them down, Kang said. Maybe not, Jin replied. But it might teach them something about humans. As if summoned by their conversation, a shadow fell across the cafe's front window. A massive alien spacecraft was descending from the sky, heading directly for the small coffee shop in Seoul. High Commander Thex had arrived. Well, Jin said, watching the ship land in the street outside, I guess we're about to find out how the galaxy really feels about our coffee. Kang straightened his diplomatic uniform and prepared to explain to the most powerful military commander in known space why humans had turned his ultimate weapon into a kitchen appliance. It was going to be an interesting conversation. High Commander Thex stepped through the door of Jin's coffee corner and immediately stopped moving. The tall Valthari commander had expected many things, but not this. The small cafe was filled with humans laughing, talking, and enjoying drinks. Together. Children sat with their parents. Business people discussed deals over steaming cups. Students worked quietly at corner tables. It was the most peaceful scene Thex had witnessed in centuries of military service. Jin looked up from behind the counter and smiled. Welcome. Are you here for coffee? Thex stared at the human who had just offered him a beverage while completely ignoring the fact that he was a 7-foot-tall alien military commander who had arrived in a warship. You are Jin? Thex asked, his voice causing several customers to look up in surprise. That's me, Jin replied cheerfully. And you must be High Commander Thex. Kang told me you might be stopping by. Ambassador Kang stood up from his corner table and approached. Commander, thank you for coming. I know you must have many questions. Indeed I do, Thex said, looking around the cafe. I have come to see what you have done with the sacred weapon we entrusted to your species. Of course, Kang said. Jin, would you mind showing the commander our setup? Jin nodded and gestured toward the quantum brewing system. Would you like to see it in action? I'm just finishing up a quantum latte for Mrs. Park over there. Thex followed Jin behind the counter and watched as the human operated what appeared to be sophisticated coffee equipment. But Thex's advanced sensors could detect the unmistakable energy signature of a quantum disruptor. This is impossible, Thex muttered. You have modified a weapon of ultimate destruction to prepare beverages? We prefer to think of it as using ultimate creation to prepare beverages, Jin replied as he handed the finished drink to Mrs. Park. She took a sip and smiled with satisfaction before returning to her newspaper. Observe, Kang said to Thex. Mrs. Park has been coming here every morning for 2 months. She orders the same drink, sits at the same table, and reads the news. The quantum system ensures her latte stays at exactly 65 degrees for the entire hour she spends here. Thex watched the elderly woman. And this brings her happiness? Simple pleasures often bring the greatest happiness, Jin said. Would you like to try something? I promise it won't hurt. Before Thex could answer, the cafe door opened again. More aliens entered. Dr. Zenth of the Ethrani, Trade Director Quinn of the Nexari, and to everyone's surprise, 2 beings that nobody had seen for decades. Elder Tam? Elder Rix? Kang said in shock. What are the caretakers doing here? The 2 ancient beings moved slowly into the cafe, their eyes taking in every detail. Elder Tam spoke in a voice like distant music. We heard about your remarkable innovation, young humans. We had to see it for ourselves. More aliens continued to arrive throughout the morning. Word had spread through the galactic communication networks, and representatives from dozens of species came to witness the impossible sight of a quantum disruptor being used to make coffee. Jin, ever the professional, simply kept making drinks. When a Krazon warrior named Korth asked for something strong, Jin prepared a quantum-enhanced energy drink that perfectly balanced caffeine with nutrients. When Dr. Zenth requested something to help her think, Jin created a tea blend with molecular structures optimized for mental clarity. The most challenging customer was General Vex of the Krazon, who arrived in full battle armor and demanded to know why humans had dishonored the sacred weapon. Dishonored? Jin asked mildly. Would you like to see what we've really done? Before General Vex could object, Jin began preparing a special demonstration. He used the quantum disruptor to create a drink that changed color and temperature as Vex watched, shifting through the spectrum while maintaining perfect molecular stability. This is art, Dr. Zenth whispered. You are using quantum mechanics to create art. We are using quantum mechanics to create joy, Kang corrected. As the day continued, something remarkable happened. The cafe became filled with representatives from dozens of different alien species, all sitting together and sharing drinks prepared by the same technology. Former enemies found themselves at neighboring tables. Ancient rivals discovered they both enjoyed quantum-enhanced fruit smoothies. Elder Tam approached Kang as the afternoon sun streamed through the cafe windows. Do you understand what you have accomplished here? We made good coffee? Kang replied, though he knew it was much. More than that. You have done something that the greatest civilizations in galactic history could not achieve, Elder Tam said. You have taken a tool of war and created peace. High Commander Thex, who had been quietly observing all day, finally approached the counter. Jin of Earth, he said formally. I request a beverage. What would you like? Jin asked. Something. That will help me understand, Thex replied. Jin thought for a moment, then began preparing something new. He used the quantum disruptor's most advanced settings, creating a drink that was part tea, part juice, and part something entirely unique. The liquid seemed to contain tiny stars that sparkled as they moved. Thex accepted the cup and took a careful sip. His 4 eyes went wide with surprise. It tastes like home, he said quietly, like the gardens of my childhood world before the wars began. The quantum system can analyze your biological responses and create flavor profiles that trigger positive memories, Jin explained. I thought you might like to remember peaceful times. Thex stood in silence for a long moment, holding the cup and staring into its sparkling depths. Finally, he looked up at Jin and Kang. I came here to reclaim a weapon, he said. But I see, now that you have not taken our gift away from us, You have shown us what it was always meant to become. By evening, the small cafe had become the most important diplomatic location in the galaxy. Representatives from every major civilization sat together, sharing quantum-prepared drinks and discovering they had more in common than they had ever realized. Trade Director Quinn was negotiating peaceful commerce agreements over stellar smoothies. Dr. Zenth was sharing research with former enemies while enjoying temperature-controlled tea. General Vex and High Commander Thex were actually laughing together about something, their ancient rivalry forgotten over drinks that reminded them both of home. As the sun set over Seoul, Jin and Kang stood behind the counter watching their cafe full of alien diplomats and wondering how their simple idea had changed the galaxy. "So what happens now?" Jin asked. Kang smiled and gestured to the scene before them. "Now we make more coffee." The next morning, a sign appeared in the cafe window. It was written in dozens of alien languages, but the message was simple. Jin's Quantum Cafe, where destruction meets perfection, open to all species. Formerly a planet killer, now making the perfect cup. Below that, in smaller text, reservations recommended, groups of former enemies welcome. The most powerful weapon in galactic history had become the most popular cafe in the galaxy. And somehow, in the most human way possible, this had created more peace than any army ever could. The quantum disruptor hummed quietly in its housing, maintaining perfect temperatures and molecular structures for dozens of different drinks. It had been designed to end civilizations, but instead, it was bringing them together. One perfect cup at a time. The end.